This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together short bite edition. Happy trails to you. No,
I don't know if that's right or not.
I don't know either.
But it was cool watching
It
you
was
do
very cool, yes. Yeah, I was watching the crooner on the other side. We are talking about the game Trails. Now, we talked about Parks.
Right, and this is from Keymaster Games as well.
And this is like the smaller cousin of Parks, I would say.
Yeah, it's got some similar gameplay mechanics. We want to talk about this one and Parks because they're two very different games, and they're two quite different ages, and Parks takes much longer. It's a much more expensive game. It's much more involved strategy-wise. So Trails is a great slimmed-down version. We actually have been able to play Trails with our 6-year-old.
Yeah.
It's mostly card-based. It comes in this cute little box. It's about $20. So we wanted to talk about this. I'm not sure which game I like more.
I can tell you that I like Trails more. I actually do.
I think I like Parks more, but I'm just not sure.
Well, then we can rock, paper, scissors for the truth here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
They're both great games. So as we said, this is from Keymaster Games. It's a 2 to 4 player game. It says ages 10 up, but as we said, we've played it with our 6-year-old several times.
I don't know if she necessarily had like a working plan or theory, but she was able to go through the mechanics and enjoy the process.
Right. I don't think that she was able to play the strategy quite to this level, but she played pretty successfully with Grandma. There were some good reading opportunities in it. There was some light strategy. I would say probably an 8-year-old would be able to start really strategizing with this game.
Yeah. If they got a couple games under them, I think they would see, what the gist of the game is. So let's go into like kind of the mechanics. So what was it like?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, it's 20 to 40 minutes. 20 if you've got like 2 players, 40 if you have 4. It does increase with the number of players you have. So this is a game where you are moving down a trail, and your hikers are moving back and forth, and you're stopping at different spots on the trail. And as you make stops, you get resources usually. You can
do things or you can get resources.
Right.
And that's very similar to what Parks was, but in Parks it was just a straight across. It was like the starting point with a destination. In this they have this kind of like, if you know cricket, you're like kind of going down and back.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. You have this trail and you'll start at one end of it, and by the time you get to the end of the trail, you get some opportunity to buy some cards which are worth victory points. And along the way of the trail, you've stopped at different spots and picked up resources that you need to buy those cards. And when you get to the end of the trail, you'll get some extra goodies, and then you'll turn around and you'll head back the other direction. So what's kind of interesting about this, same thing with Parks, is that you don't actually roll to decide how far you move. You actually get to make a decision about how far you move down the trail. But once you've moved in one direction, you can't go backwards.
Parks had a limiting factor. You could move 1 or 2 spaces.
This one also has a 1 or 2 spaces, but actually I think in Parks, maybe you can move any number of spaces, but the difference in this one is that you can be on the same space as other players.
Yeah,
whereas in Parks, you could not. So
that's the wrinkle that I like about this one, is that you don't have this contending for positioning. Like you can share space. And I think from a playability standpoint, especially with earlier learners, I think that's kind of the... it's an added value to the game.
Right, because when you have 4 hikers there, and you play Parks and you can't be on the same space, it means like, oh, if you decided to get the rocks resource, well, I can't go there, and it adds some tension. I agree. In this version, you can stop on the trail at these sites, you get these resources, you go to the end of the trail, then you can buy cards, and those cards are worth victory points. And those cards get replenished as people buy them. One cool aspect of this is for every person who reaches the end of the trail, there is a sun token, and that token starts moving from the end of the trail towards the beginning of the trail, one at a time, as each new person arrives at the end.
There's a mechanic in the game that creates the ending of the game.
Exactly. And so as each player reaches the end, the sun token will move one closer to the beginning of the trail. And as it moves, it gives different bonuses for people who arrive at the end of the trail. At first you may get like 2 acorns because you got to the end of the trail. Eventually you might get,
the camera pictures, or you get to trade in for, one resource for 2 additional
right,
resources.
you might get some
of that
special
nature,
action or something. And as it moves back on the trail, the sun will actually hit different trail spots, and those will flip over. So this accelerates the resources.
Let's describe the trail. Like the trail are individual cards. They're really nice, beautiful cards that lay
tiles,
out. Yeah, they're like tiles, and there's about 10 of them or so, 8 or 9, 10 of them.
There's 5 trail spots. So like you have an acorn, and exchange 1 resource for 2 resources, a leaf.
You know what? I'm confusing parks because parks can get longer.
Parks gets longer.
Parks gets longer.
They're kind of similar.
Yeah.
So this only has 5 spots, right?
So the cards on trails, as that sun token moves along, you have the ability to flip the tile over, and it turns it to nighttime, and then the resources like double in that respect.
So if in daytime that resource was like 1 leaf, in nighttime it'll give you 2 leaves. Yeah. So what this really means, and maybe we're speaking complexly about this, and I don't mean
because we're trying to compare the 2 games.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be. Basically, what this does is you're collecting resources throughout the game as you move up and down this trail, and as the game goes along, it starts to accelerate the velocity at which you get those resources. So you start getting more resources faster towards the end of the game, which really helps you kind of like ramp up your points towards the end, and then the game is over when the last card is flipped to night and the sun is fully down on your trail. So you're basically going back and forth along this set of 5 tiles, collecting resources, buying cards at both trail ends to get victory points, and as you go along, the game is ratcheting up the level of resources you get, so you get more and more. I like those kind that the engine builds, because then it gets really fun. Then you've got lots of resources to play with.
And you're having to make a lot of decisions.
You do. You can only keep, I think, 8 resources in your hand, so you can't just collect a ton of resources and then go. You're only allowed to buy 2 cards at the end.
I do like that limiting factor.
There's limits.
Yeah, it forces you to make decisions to move to the end of the board to get those tiles, especially if somebody else is potentially going to get those tiles, because you only have so many resources. It's not like you have this huge amount of resources.
I hate things where you can hoard resources,
yeah.
And you can just gobble them all up.
Yeah, somebody gets to the scoring thing and they're like, I'm going to buy that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And you're just like, what is this? This is silly.
Right. Yeah. Then the game just becomes, it becomes so lopsided. I like this one because it's pretty evenly placed. Whenever we've played it, our scores have always been within a few points of each other. We've played it with grandma. We've played it with our 6-year-old, as we said. We've played it with friends, and it plays well in whatever group we use. It's super compact. You could definitely take this camping. This would be an amazing camping game, and I think we'll take this with us.
Yeah, I think
summer.
this year, when we could do some camping, I think we'll definitely take it. It's thematically, it's such a perfect game for you, especially if your family likes camping or likes to do RVing, to parks and stuff like that.
That's perfect.
This game and parks are one of those thematic games that you really want to put into the camper,
right.
Or into
the bags. It's got great components, really great artwork, just like Parks does. I love super quality components and this really nice small box.
This is one of the games that we play a lot of games. You've gotten a lot of games. We're still coming down off our Christmas buying on games, and this is one that I've really enjoyed. This is, it's like books, right? Most of the books are okay, that's good, it's good, it's good, and once in a while you get a really good one. This is I think a really good game. I really like this one.
There are games that we come across when we tend to talk about family games. We talk about a lot of kids games, right? We talked about a Sneaky Snacky Squirrel a couple of weeks ago for a preschool game. We've talked about lots of kids games, and while they're great and they're totally time specific, right? You've got to play them with that age child. This is one of those games that we don't really talk about. Family games in general. We have, I don't know how many family games. It's well over 100, maybe 150. I don't know. We have a lot. We don't talk about all of them. We only really want to share the ones that we think are like we'll have around when we're grandparents. This is one of those games. We will save this game. We will play it with our kids. We will play it with our friends. We will someday play it with our grandkids. This is one of those timeless ones. And not all games have that kind of staying power. I feel like, this would get old, or, this is just really for a specific time of, we have younger kids, or, even this is a family game that's only good with, elementary kids or something because it's silly or whatever. It just wouldn't work long term. I can see us playing this 2-player. I can see us playing this with our kids, our grandkids, our friends. It's really a universal one. I love this game, and Parks both. I think I'm not sure which one I would choose to keep. They're both terrific. So these are ones we will not be giving to our children when they move out someday. These are ones that are staying at mom and dad's house.
Exactly. Come home, kids, and play games with them.
Play Trails. So Trails from Keymaster Games. Check it out. About $20 or so is what you should be able to find it for. Highly recommend this one. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!